One of the most difficult things to do in trading is to do the kinds of things that are boring, the kinds of things that you might seem tedious, the kind of things that look like this. Hold on one second here. All right. We've got this journal. This is a sample of my journal. Sorry, I heard a little bit of feedback now. Back on track with this. So this is one of my first journals. Uh, First journals that I started to keep and do consistently, and from when I started to turn the corner. And we're here today to talk about journaling. And I assume that I don't need to sell you guys on journaling, but maybe I do. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to journal, and I started out well with this paper and this binder, and what I would do, I would print out charts from Market Surge and mark them all up. Here's a sample of what I would do, and you can see that my handwriting is atrocious, or was atrocious, still is. And what I would do, I would print out, I would make notes, print them out, scotch tape them on here, and I'm not sure if you could even see how many shares were bought of this, but this was Tractor Supply Co. back in 2012, and I only had 35 shares of it. So that's a position that only equated to about 3 grand. So this trade was a trade that ran about 25%. So on this trade, I made roughly 700 bucks over the span of what is that, between January and when it was ultimately sold in April. And so you might say, you know, uh, 3 4 months worth of work, 700 bucks, that doesn't sound like a whole lot. Well, why am I going to bother doing this? And in the short term, you'd be right. It is a lot of work, and there isn't a lot of payoff, especially if you are starting out with a small amount of capital. The same token, when I was doing this, and back then, you could see how consistently I was doing this. This is a year's worth of trading, and no, not each sheet of paper is represents one trade. I would print out the trades as they would progress. So, but this whole book represents 1 year's worth of trading, and the thing that helped me with this, the thing that helped me to where I'm at right now, here speaking to you, is a big part of what we're going to talk about today, and it's the consistency part of it. One of the most important things that you could do for your trading, if you're looking to take trading seriously, and if you're looking to for it to be something that can eventually become something that's more than just a hobby, or something more than, you casually, maybe you bought some Amazon, or maybe you put some money into Nvidia, and you sit there and you watch it go up and down, and you see what somebody else is saying and what they're doing, and you decide to buy and sell based off of that. If you really want to take this game seriously, you need to start taking notes. I think that's basically been true for all parts of our lives, right? Think back to childhood, think back to grade school, middle school, high school. How much notes were we taking, right? For those of you that went off and did the college, undergrad, grad school, uh, going into a doctoral program, plenty of notes, right? So if trading is something that we're going to take seriously, then expect to take a lot of notes, and expect that, as you expect to do it consistently. Because if we think about school back then, right? And I'm almost going to knock this thing over, so I'm going to just take this binder and put it down here. If we didn't take good notes in school, where would we be? right? I didn't take good notes in school for part of it, and then when I got into my junior and senior year, I started to crank things up, and I started to do a lot better. So early on, I got to see the power of taking good notes and doing that kind of stuff on a more consistent basis, and thankfully that bled into what we're doing here. What you need to do with your journaling is to be able to do whatever it is consistently. Now, this topic came up from one of our members, Daniel. Now, uh, Daniel, and I hope, Daniel, that you don't mind me sharing a little bit of your story, but Daniel's going to be a new dad pretty soon. And one of the lessons that I learned the hard way was when a baby comes into a picture, or if you have any sort of major life event, maybe you're starting a new job, maybe you're changing careers, um, buying a house, well, whatever major life event you could think of, when these major life events happen, they impact us and they impact our trading. And if we're taking our trading seriously and we are journaling, then it might affect how we're going to journal. It's going to affect our business, right? Think about trading like a business, things can impact. And we need to think about how our trading might be impacted and how we journal. So, part of what we were going to talk about today had to do with journaling, right? And the evolution of not just my journaling practice, but how you might want to evolve your journaling practice. So, if you wouldn't mind, just type into the chat. Let me know yes or no. Just put a Y, put an N if you're journaling right now. I'd like to get a gauge of um, who I'm speaking to here live. And by the way, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Got to put that up there. So it looks like we have a couple of people that are journaling and journaling regularly. That's a good thing. Okay, so there's different tools that we may want to use and explore to see how we might want to journal and journal efficiently. But I want to put a big caveat out there because what people do, and I know this and I've seen it and I've been guilty of it myself. One of the things that people do is they'll try to automate and they'll try to purchase software, and that'll seem like the answer to make things better. And for a brief period it does, right? Because you took money out, you took an action, you bought this thing, it's starting to import trades, it's starting to make nice and pretty reports for us. Those things sound good, but it feels good in the beginning. It tends to teeter off later on, and here's the reason why. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a problem. It's like, trying to buy a machine to do sit-ups for you, right? It doesn't work if you're not doing the work. And what often can work is what's simple. So, and I'm not trying to bash software. I'm not trying to bash any of this stuff. Though all the stuff is great, but it's how we go about attacking a problem. And so, if you are journaling, and I'm doing this part myself, I always want to be evolving. What we need to do is take a look at what it is that we're journaling, what our process is, and then figure out where we can cut the fat. Where can we cut the fat? And so when you're figuring out your journaling, and yes, I will share my journal with you. Let me get the questions up here. Uh, Hector says that he is. Well, what is the difference or distinction between journaling and writing setups down on paper? Very good question. So, if you are journaling, you're actively tracking it. So, you probably have a binder like what I have. Let me go grab this. And Hector's over on X, so it's nice to see some people putting in comments from X. So this was a binder that I had started back in 2012. This is a about a year's worth of trades. So if you are writing down your journal on a piece of paper and you're keeping track of it somewhere where you'll be able to go back and reference it, sure, that's a journal. One of the one of the things that I talk about in my book, I now have 3 books, if you can believe that. If you can, great. Because explain it to me, because I don't know how that's possible. But I have 3 books. The second book that I wrote is called "The Trading Mind Wheel: 8 Essential Skills for Trading Mastery." It's behind my head. It's that one that has the little circle on it. One of the essential skills is journaling, and journaling is more than uh, to master the skill of journaling. It's more than taking notes on trades. And yes, that's a very important part of it. Yes, that's how you get started, and you'll start to build the muscle. In order to master journaling, we need to be intentional about it. We need to think about the different types of things that we're going to track, and how and when we're going to do this journaling, and how to make it the most efficient way possible. My journaling only takes me a few minutes a day, and I want to walk you through a little bit of what I do and show you how I do what I do. And part of the my hope for what you'll take away from this isn't like the specifics of, oh, Mike is tracking this and Mike's tracking that. Obviously, I believe in it, but the more important thing for you to take away is the structure, right? The core principles. That's what I'm hoping that you'll walk away with. So let's take a quick look at some of the stuff that I've been journaling here. Right. So you might have seen this before. I talk about this spreadsheet often during the midweek update, if you've seen any of those. But as I'm doing my market analysis, I'm filling out this sheet, and this sheet here, this whole thing, right? So you see how it says playbook 810 to 816. I share this out with our members, and one of the things that I'll do is I make this spreadsheet, I update this thing daily, and this serves as part of my journal. I'm going and doing my analysis and just jotting everything down in here, right? So this sheet, right? I didn't fill out today's yet, but to fill out each of the columns here, right, to see which way is the trend moving on the monthly time frames, weekly time frames, daily time frames, that'll take me all of a minute to be able to identify those things. Maybe it's quick for me because I've been doing this for a very long time now, many years, 25 years of trading, 15 years of trading well. But you'll get to that point when you're able to, if maybe you're at that point right now where you could look at a chart and be like, oh, yeah, there's an uptrend, there's a sideways, this is a downtrend. Great. Add a journaling practice to your thing where you're just jotting down what it is that you observe. One of the more One of the more important things that we need to do too is to figure out what we're going to track and why. Those are the kinds of things that you want to end up in your journal, right? Often people think of journaling as just writing down random thoughts and notes and those kind of things. And I think that those kind of journals are wonderful too. If you want that to be a part of your main trading journal, that's perfectly okay. I think that there's a place for something like this to be as a journal, because when you organize what it is that you're going to track, it makes it that much more efficient. When you make it part of your routine, part of your habit, then it makes it hyper efficient. And like all this takes me about a minute to fill in which way the market is moving, distribution day count, the number of stocks making new highs and new lows, trade number of stocks where I'm setting an alert or a working order. That's giving me a gauge of how strong the market is. Think about it. Think about it like this, right? If this column here is one that you might want to add for yourself. If you're doing your homework at night and you're screening for trades and you're going through your watch list and there's nothing on there that you want to buy, that's telling you something about the market, right? Put that on your journal. That way you know the market condition and the current market condition, and it gives you a way to go back in time and historically look at, well, how were things back during this period? Right? Like I've used this as a historical reference tool where I'll go back and look at similar time periods to say, well, how are things looking when the market bottomed, right? Like so, for example, I was talking about a similar period back here just to show you some charts, and I'll take this off and I'll show you this here. So back here on this day, we were looking at this to say, well, the market had a pretty steep sell-off. We're also seeing an uptick in new lows. In fact, we saw a spike in new lows. When was the last time that we saw phenomena like this, and what happened? Right? So went back in time. And the last time that we undercut and started to come back and we had that spike in new lows was right around when the rally started. That, in addition to a few other things that I'm actively tracking on my spreadsheet, that's what gives me insight to say, oh, this is a good reward to risk. This is a good time to get in. This is a good time to sit on my hands. So all this here, again, it's taken me about a minute to fill in all these different things here. How many stocks I'm actively watching, how many stocks were set up from the weekend, trades that I'm in, how they're doing, win-loss streak, all that stuff. This is all stuff that I'm looking to track. And you might be saying, well, couldn't you automate that stuff? I probably could. I probably could automate some of this. I could probably have software pull in what I'm doing with this trade here. I'm in. I have one trade on right now because the market's choppy. VIRT. I'm tracking my entry notes, the trade grade. This chart link was from yesterday. Right. So far, the trade is up about 5-6%, something like that. I think I've got that over here. Yeah, up about almost 6%. Then, so all this stuff to the left, this is all stuff that I'm adding at night before the trade is gonna be ready. Right. So if I'm thinking about taking a trade, I'll do a deep dive on the trade itself. So, for example, with VIRT, what I did was I came and I was analyzing everything on this chart. I took a look at it over on this platform here, Deep View, which I'm loving more and more by the day. Taking a look at the different data that's part of my system in here, and coming to a decision of whether or not I want to buy this. I'm able to, because I have a process that I'm following, it's all in my business plan. Because I have a process that I'm following, I'm able to do a write-up on all this. It maybe between 5 and 10 minutes have all this stuff done where I've looked at the chart, I've looked at the fundamental data, I've analyzed it, I've written a brief synopsis of what my thoughts are, come up with a trading plan, and then no, placing the order. That'll take between 5 and 10 minutes. And then every day, I'm coming in and I'm updating what my plan is and where it's at right now. So then there's some other data that I'm tracking, and all this is all part of my journaling process, and that's why it's efficient. It's not because I'm doing analysis and then I'm doing journaling. No, you need to meld the two, allow them to be intertwined. And then that's how you could start to become more efficient. And as you're doing this process, and one of the great things about doing it manually is that you'll start to get a real feel for what's important and what isn't. And then when it's time to start to make cuts, and sometimes we're placed into a position where we're forced to start to make decisions, then you could have a much better sense of where you can make cuts and what you want to hold on to. You could also, and when you think through how and when you're going to do your post analysis, that's another thing. How you're going to do your post analysis, you'll start to think about what sort of data you want to collect and maybe what things you might want to add. One of the important things with a journaling process, any journaling process, is to know how and when you're going to do it. The way that I do it is with my analysis. So the two are intertwined and it saves a lot of time. And my whole journaling process, the whole thing here really, that there's a couple of formulas in here that help calculate some things, right? So I'm pulling in the current price. I'm calculating uh, how much capital I've got at risk for my initial capital risk. There's a handful of formulas in this thing, but most of this stuff is all manual typing it in, and it doesn't take all that long. But the big benefit of doing it in this way, where you're manually typing everything in, is that it's giving you that tangible insight. You've literally got your fists in the dough, or you're literally more so have your hands in the market, your fingers on the keys of the keyboard, and it's very very useful. I think that one of the common pitfalls, and I want to take some questions after this. I think that one of the common pitfalls is that when people start to journal, there's a couple of things. Well, one is getting completely overwhelmed by the process. So not knowing what to journal about, not knowing what data to collect. That's why I included a whole chapter on this in the Trading Mind Wheel book. It's also why I wrote a new book called The Trading Success Blueprint that walks you through how to write a business plan for your trading. So part of your business plan is going to be, well, what type of data are you going to be interested in and why? How are you going to analyze the market? How are you going to analyze the market? So, what's going to come into your plan? What types of things are going to constitute a setup? What's going to pass your screens? How do things get on your radar? That's what all that kind of stuff goes into your trading business plan. And when you have that, journaling becomes a lot easier. I would encourage you to get both of the books. I just posted the link to the Trading Success Blueprint book. That one is an ebook. I'm selling that one direct. The other one, the Trading Mind Wheel, which is behind my head, that one is over on Amazon. You could get it there. Both of them have audio versions to it. The Trading Success Blueprint, that's like a hidden thing. I recorded an audio myself talking uh, the book. So you have that. You get to listen to me a little bit more. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. Anyway, um, let's see. Well, what else do we have? Yeah, the other common pitfall uh, from getting overwhelmed is from trying to automate everything. Right. To reiterate with that, you don't want to automate right away. It's better to get your hands dirty, start to learn, and then later on, if there's things that can be automated, then go ahead and automate. But in the beginning, it's good to understand and learn the nuts and bolts of what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're tracking, why you're tracking it. Otherwise, if you automate too early, it starts to become very easy to just add everything in the kitchen sink into the software. And then that in itself becomes bloated. And it's like, oh, there's just way too much here. And the software ends up sitting on your desk and you don't use it. Whereas you probably could have saved yourself a couple of bucks and gotten further by doing some of the stuff manually. One of the things that I offer with this, right? So this spreadsheet there, this is my journal. I share this with our members. Well, one of the things that I encourage people to do with this is to not just look at what I'm sharing every day, but to actually take this, go to file, make a copy, and then you've got a template to use for yourself, right? So that way, at least you're not starting from scratch. You're still going to need to manually enter things, well, which is good, but at least you've got the structure there. So for those of you that would like a free 2-week trial to our research program, I just popped the link into the various chats, so go check that out. Um, Let me know what questions you guys have. Let me know what questions you guys have about journaling, about spreadsheets, about pitfalls, about journaling techniques, whatever kind of questions you have that are related to journaling. And again, journaling is really the thing that helped me to go from being a really without direction. A journal is almost like a compass, right? If you're lost, it's difficult to figure out where you're going wrong without a map. The journal is going to help to serve as your map, which is why it's so important to get started and to start tracking things. And the sooner that you do it, the better the better off you're going to be. So, what questions do you guys have? Questions, comments? Type into the chat. Let me know that you're alive out there. We've got a couple of more minutes before we really need to wrap things up. Yeah, Hector, you good? See John Stinnett in the house. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, let me know what other questions you guys have about journaling. I think that journaling's a lot easier uh, than you think. The important thing is that you get started. If it weren't for a journaling practice, then I'm probably not speaking. No, I know that I'm not here speaking to you because there's no way that I would have been able to improve. Right? Maybe I had some winning trades. I'd also have some losing trades, but I'd have no idea how to improve things. The way that you're going to learn how to improve is by tracking your progress and then studying your progress. So, and for Daniel, hopefully Daniel, this makes sense, and hopefully Daniel, you have a few takeaways from this and how you're going to, with the birth of a child, be able to adapt. Again, well, one of the things to do is to figure out what it is that you're able to do on your worst day. So I know that, uh, yeah, I believe you mentioned that your child's going to be born in November, if memory serves. So um, between now and then, think about one of the most difficult days that you've had where it, you because you are somebody that's routinely keeping a journal. Think about, well, one of the most challenging days that you've had at work with family, where everything's kind of going crazy. How did you go about journaling on that day? Were you able to journal on that day? What types of things do you regularly journal? Where can you make cuts? Because Daniel's been journaling for a little while. So, what things do you find yourself using a lot? Which things do you find yourself not using so much? Think through, well, what happens if I were to cut out those things that I'm not really using? Would that improve your speed? If you do have separate journaling practices and analysis practices, what happens if you combine them and did them how we discussed earlier? Would that help? Again, well, for me, filling out all the stuff in the spreadsheet here only takes me maybe about a couple of minutes on this analysis of the market, a few more minutes for open trades. Then, if I have anything to put onto a watch list, then that takes a little bit more time too. So overall, uh, the whole process probably takes somewhere in the ballpark of half an hour. For me, a little bit more because I'm putting this together and writing reports and sending them out to people and doing videos and doing all that kind of stuff. If I weren't doing that, it would be even faster. So, all right. I think that about covers it. So, for those of you that are watching this later on, let me know what questions you guys have. Just send them in, put them into the comments. I'm always happy to help. And thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you back here next time. We'll be back here tomorrow for the midweek update. What time am I doing that? I believe it's 11 a.m. Yeah, the midweek update will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be out next week, heading on vacation, so there's not going to be any live streams. Uh, but I will be back the following week, ready to pick things up. So I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Much love and God bless.